The winner is Marlon Brando in The Godfather.
And I was in Eagle Rampant.
At 60, Marlon Brando said it out loud. He loved men and women. The words slid across America like a match to dry brush. Studio lawyers shifted. Tabloids grinned. His enemies whispered that the great seducer had finally confessed. Was it bravado, honesty, or both? He had built an empire on appetite and rebellion. Marlon Brando was born in 1,924 inches, Omaha, Nebraska. Winter air, flat light, and a quiet street. His father sold chemicals and demanded discipline. His mother, Dodie, loved the stage and the bottle. Tenderness and turmoil lived in the same small rooms. The country still limped from the Great Depression. Work was precious. Dreams felt expensive. The family moved often. Illinois lawns, new schools, and a boy who watched everything. He learned to mimic teachers and relatives. He copied voices at dinner to win laughs, then silence. His father saw weakness. His mother saw possibility. Some nights she acted for neighbors in the parlor. Other nights she vanished into drink. He learned the language of exits and returns. America in the 1930s adored clean lines and firm rules. Radio was the hearth. Voices sold soap and certainty. Bandstands swung with brass and reeds. Zoot suits flashed in cities while small towns wore pressed collars. Boys were boys. Girls were girls. Church on Sunday. Respectability every day. Behind closed doors, desire still lived, though few dared to name it. The Hollywood production code had arrived, and it gave sin neat definitions. Studios cut scenes. Newspapers cut names. Whispers moved faster than trains. Marlon disliked authority. Military school promised order, then met his stubborn grin. He polished boots, mocked uppers, and finally got expelled. He went home and worked odd jobs. He fixed radios. He dug holes. He borrowed time. All along, a stage waited somewhere far away. Chicago stages glowed in his mind. New York gleamed harder. He felt it like a hum in his bones. He loved the body's truth. Even then, he watched how anger sits in the shoulders. He noticed how worry tightens the jaw. He studied people the way other boys studied engines. Outwardly, America asked for one kind of man: quiet, useful, certain. Inside, he felt the looseness of a different future. The war gathered itself. Draft boards stamped papers. Brass bands played hopeful marches. Troop trains carved the map into tracks and smoke. He chose the stage. The decision looked small at first. A train ticket. A suitcase. A young man with a smirk and a stutter. He would go east and learn to tell the truth. He would find teachers who loved risk and language. He would discover the force that could turn private observation into public thunder. The road pointed toward New York, and beyond that, the cameras. New York hit him like a cymbal crash. Noise, steam, ambition. He found the group theater's legend and tracked its descendants. Stella Adler watched him slouch, then saw lightning. She taught him to honor text and imagination, use the senses, feed the moment. He listened, argued, and then transformed. Lee Strasberg's Actors Studio offered another temple. He went there too. He studied craft like a boxer studies breath. He learned to summon truth without apology. He auditioned with a raw, coiled energy. Casting directors leaned forward. The stutter became a rhythm. The slouch became a threat. Broadway answered with a role that fit like skin. In 1947, he crashed into a streetcar named Desire. Stanley Kowalski walked in wearing sweat and hunger. He did not perform rage. He radiated it. Audiences gasped. Critics ran out of synonyms. The theater trembled, then reset its calendar. Hollywood called with a test, then a contract. He chose a first film that proved nerve. The men arrived in 1950 with wheelchairs and hard edges. He lived in a veterans hospital to prepare. He learned the weight of a chair and silence. Reporters blinked at the commitment, then printed awe. The star system suddenly had a problem. He refused its grammar. Streetcar reached the screen in 1951. He pressed opposite Vivian Leigh and Kim Hunter. The camera loved the planes of his face and the danger in his pauses. Desire was not tidy anymore. It was humid, loud, and unashamed. Production code guardians gritted teeth. Audiences bought tickets twice. He became a national argument and a pinup in one body. The momentum built with Viva Zapata in 1952. He wore rebellion like a second shirt. Julius Caesar arrived in 1953, and he met Shakespeare without fear. Then motorcycles roared through the Wild One. Teenagers copied his jacket and tilt. Department stores sold t-shirts because he made them look like armor. Movie houses filled with girls who screamed and boys who studied. What are you rebelling against, kid? What day I got? In 1954 came on the Waterfront. Elia Kazan pointed the lens and told him to listen. He did. The glove scene, the taxicab confessional, the ache in his eyes when brotherhood broke. He gathered the wind into one performance and carried home an Oscar. Method acting, once a rumor, now owned the marquee. Studios courted him with contracts and press schedules. He dodged them with sudden absences and quiet laughter. He hated the publicity machine. He toyed with interviewers, then dropped his guard in odd moments. He loved animals, drums, and isolation. He loved argument, too. He made producers sweat with rewrites and refusals, yet the public image held firm. He was the nation's bruised angel, a saint of appetite, a rebel with gravity. The role came with rules, and those rules felt tight. The studio handshake promised money and myth. It also asked for a single story about desire. He felt another story moving under the surface, and it would not stay silent forever. He prized privacy like oxygen. Desire needed shelter to breathe. The town did not offer shelter, so he built it. A lamp left burning on a porch, a call without a last name, a driver who did not ask questions. The choreography became second nature. He learned which gates squeaked. He learned which bungalows offered back stairs and curtained patios. He met men through theater, friends, and restless nights. Some were actors between jobs. Some were dancers with lithe arms and careful smiles. Some wrote lines for other people's mouths, then stuttered when the room went quiet. He liked wit and nerve. He liked the shock of recognition when masks dropped. In certain circles, introductions were coded. A producer would mention a beach party near Malibu. Someone would add that shoes were optional after midnight. That meant safety. That meant eyes that understood. The studios were always listening. Contracts carried morals clauses as sharp as razors. Publicists arranged dates with bright actresses who wore gardenias and good reputations. A photographer would be waiting near Musso and Frank. Flashbulbs fixed a story and sold it to Sunday readers. He played along when he had to. He also slipped away when he could. Power helps. So does charm. He used both. Biographers describe meaningful ties with men he trusted. One bond began as boyish mischief, then deepened into something hard to name. They laughed until dawn and traded fears in the small hours. They shared scripts and sandwiches and, when needed, silence. Friends insisted it was brotherhood. Others nodded and used a quieter word. He kept the truth for himself and guarded it like a relic. He once said he loved without categories. The people who knew him best believed him. There were nights at the Chateau Marmont with curtains drawn against sunset. Parties in the hills where a pianist hammered standards and torch songs. A director told stories about Berlin and coded bars. A novelist read a paragraph that felt like confession. Hands brushed in kitchens while ice cracked in glasses. The clock found 2 in the morning, then 4. Dawn painted the pool, a flat gray. A valet whispered that the alley was clear. The city put its mask back on. Reporters hunted shadows. Confidential hinted at what it could not prove. Columnists used sly punctuation and careful adjectives. Whisper campaigns bloomed in barbershops and studio commissaries. He answered with a shrug, or a joke, or a sudden trip out of town. New York offered anonymity. Paris offered forgiveness. Tahiti would later offer distance. Still, Hollywood tugged at him like a jealous lover. He knew the risk. A careless word could collapse a decade of work. A vindictive rival could feed a line to a stringer. A jilted friend could call a gossip editor. So he set rules. Never use real names on the phone. Keep doorways dark. Pay in cash. Smile for the wrong camera if it protects the right person. He was not alone in this. Many stars performed the same dance. They borrowed one another's beards and alibis. They traded safe drivers when a studio driver felt suspicious. Sometimes the walls cracked. A guest arrived with the wrong friend. A neighbor complained about music. A patrol car idled too long. He remembered church basements and lectures about sin. Then he breathed and moved people like chess pieces. He promised to host the next party up the coast. He promised to call a lawyer if needed. He promised to keep secrets and meant it. He did not dress the part of a saint. He never pretended to. He sought tenderness where he found it. He liked women who argued and men who listened. He liked intelligence, and he liked danger. The town tried to reduce him to one category. He refused. He spoke of love as a river, not a fence. He took the cost and put it on his own ledger. Yet the bill kept growing. Rumors were forming teeth, and one day they would bite. The whispers gained muscle. They circled his fame like hungry dogs. Studio executives counted headlines and fretted about sponsors. Morals clauses shifted from fine print to loaded guns. One reckless evening could trigger a firing squad of lawyers. He felt the barrel press against his ribs each time a phone rang late. The work grew harder in the early 60s. Mutiny on the Bounty ballooned into a cautionary tale. Delays, arguments, and swollen budgets fed a press frenzy. He refused false choices on set and demanded truth. Reporters called it ego. Rivals called it sabotage. The studio called it expensive. Behind the noise, a simpler reality pulsed. He was protecting his method. He was also protecting his life outside the lens. Confidential, and the columns sharpened their knives. They teased unnamed liaisons and coded shames. Editors knew what a wink could sell. They ran photographs with mischievous captions and let readers finish the sentence. He stayed silent or tossed a quip. Silence sometimes sounded like guilt. A quip sometimes sounded like confession. Either way, the story multiplied. Some offers dried up. Others came with strings. Directors wanted the electricity without the thunderclouds. Producers wanted the face without the fight. He saw roles drift to safer choices. He tried to pivot toward themes that mattered. Civil rights, indigenous rights, conscience on film. Biographers note that his activism intensified the industry's caution. Courage has a price when ledgers rule. The box office cooled. A few flops stung like open palms. Reviewers wrote obituaries for his stardom before the decade ended. He gained weight. He withdrew. He hid out on islands that felt like incomplete answers. The city's bright rooms had once felt like stages. Now they felt like interrogation cells. He stopped taking certain calls. Private life turned brittle. Trust thinned. He held friends closer and kept more locks on the door. Lovers asked for honesty he could not safely give. Old deals were renegotiated with clause after clause. A publicist reminded him that a smile could save a campaign. He tried. The smile looked borrowed. His eyes kept scanning doorways. He had always been the man who would not bend. Now bending looked like protection. Rumors threatened the people he cared about. He covered their tracks and took the heat. He told himself the storm would pass. Yet storms in Hollywood learn the streets by heart. They return on schedule and without apology. By the end of the decade, he stood at a cliff. Fame roared below like black surf. The work he loved felt distant. The town he changed felt hostile. The boy who ran from authority had met a new warden. This one wore expense accounts and smiled for trade magazines. He needed a lifeline, or at least a door that opened toward quiet light. The lifeline arrived as an audition no one expected him to need. The Godfather restored his center like a slow, steady drum. He found Vito Corleone's hush, the weight in the hands, the ancient pride. The camera listened again. America listened too. An Oscar followed, but he sent a different message instead. Sachin Littlefeather stood in his place and spoke about broken promises. Many cheered. Many raged. He accepted both reactions as the cost of candor. He chased the edge again with Last Tango in Paris. The film scandalized and electrified audiences. He carried grief like a hidden stone and let it grind. Critics fought over the meanings while he pulled back into privacy. The town argued about art and decency. He stayed quiet and watched the dust settle. Work remained a battlefield. Apocalypse Now demanded stamina and secrecy. He arrived late, heavy, and brilliant. The jungle sweated. The river crawled. He leaned into shadow and built a myth of whisper and dread. The performance haunted a generation. Off camera, he ached for silence. Fame made quiet feel expensive. He started buying islands. Tetiaroa offered him salt air and a different clock. He walked the beach with children and plans for conservation. He listened to elders and learned stories older than cameras. He directed energy toward respect. Developers made offers. He chose patience instead. He wanted the island to remain a refuge rather than a trophy. Even there, the past flew overhead like a noisy plane. Gossip landed wherever fame slept. Interviews became rare and unpredictable. He teased hosts, then opened small doors. He spoke about love without fences. He acknowledged, in certain conversations, that his affections ranged wide. He declined to label himself. He preferred the word human. Some applauded the honesty. Others called it provocation. He refused to police his heart to service a headline. Time was short. He guarded it. Roles came in waves through the 80s and 90s. Some were graceful, others were survival. He took them for money, for curiosity, for friends. He accepted that not every picture could hold the old voltage. He found pleasure in mentoring younger actors. He shared tricks of breath and stillness. He urged them to protect their interior life. Health pressed down as the years advanced. Illness slowed the strides and carried oxygen across rooms. He kept reading. He kept calling old friends at strange hours. He kept looking for the truth inside each small day. The world beyond Hollywood shifted. Laws softened. Words changed. Young actors spoke more freely about desire. He listened and felt the ache of an earlier age. He also felt pride that the dam was cracking. He had paid a price for privacy. Others might not have to pay the same. In the evenings, the island wind carried a simple mercy. He could hear the sea. He could hear his own voice under the noise. He could admit the loves he had known without apology. That admission felt like a quiet victory, not a scandal. It cleared space for memory and for grace. From that place, the final lesson came into view. Here is the human truth at the center of his blaze. He loved widely and worked fiercely. The industry tried to package that fire into a single label. He declined the box and chose breath instead. The choice cost him money, pages, and years of easy comfort. It also bought him a testimony. He showed that a man could be both tender and volcanic, principled and imperfect, hungry for craft and loyal to the heart's surprise. Listen to his legacy in the quiet. It is in the courage to tell the truth when silence feels safer. It is in the refusal to trade a soul for a headline. It is in the small rooms where people finally admit who they are and feel the air change. His films remain, but so does the insistence behind them. Live with appetite, fight for dignity, protect those who trust you. Step toward the mirror and say your name without fear. If this story moved you, tell me where it landed. Which moment caught your breath? Which choice you would have made in that era of locked doors and sharp clauses? Share your thoughts in the comments and join this channel for more hidden chapters of old Hollywood. There are more rooms to open, more names to say aloud, and more truths waiting for their light.